Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fumble Sports Daily Show. It is Tuesday, June 13th, and we are so happy to have you in the show. We are about to get into everything around the world of sports. For today's action, MLB, a Stanley Cup final game that could ultimately end the NHL season tonight, and WNBA action. But before we get into all of that, as our loyal viewers and regular followers jump into the show, I did want to start off by talking about last night's game, NBA Finals Game 5. I didn't put out a rant video because I wanted to talk to you guys specifically about my thoughts with a little bit of time to just think about how things went. First, we won't talk about the gambling right now. I'll talk about that in just a second. But I do want to just call out what a brilliant performance it was by the Denver Nuggets last night in an ugly game. And you may go, how can you be brilliant while also being ugly? When you shoot so poorly from three in the first half, when you don't have your stars necessarily, Jokic was great, Murray was good, but when it's Michael Porter Jr. having a good game, when it's KCP coming through defensively, that speaks to the depth of this team. The Denver Nuggets, what I loved about watching them this year is they were a complete team. From the head coaching staff all the way down to the last member of the bench, DeAndre Jordan, who got in the game last night. This was a complete team. You see it in how Jokic's demeanor is. You see it how Jamal Murray, how willing he is to be a facilitator for his teammates. I love what I see from the Denver Nuggets. I think it's way too quick, and I hate how the sports media community does this. Are they a dynasty? Are they going to win next year? I hate that kind of talk. Even if the Denver Nuggets brought it upon themselves, I know Michael Malone's comments said we're going to win another one. But let's appreciate what this Nuggets team is. They are a throwback. They are a team from the 80s. They're a team that's balanced, that plays good defense, where their superstar is as good a facilitator as he is a scorer, as he is a leader. This is a brilliant team. Is this one of the greatest teams of all time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Are the 2023 Denver Nuggets or 2022 Denver Nuggets amongst the greatest NBA teams of all time? Not even in the discussion. They're not that good in that upper echelon of the Mount Olympus when it comes to NBA all-time history. But is this what you dream of as a fan? What you dream of as a franchise? A balanced team, a deep team, where the leaders aren't just leaders in action, they're also leaders in demeanor. They don't have ego. They don't strut. There's a great photo of Jamal Murray and Jokic together. This is from way back. This isn't from last night. Where Jokic is got his arm around Jamal Murray and he's leaning on him. And if you've ever been around shorter people, some of them don't take too kindly, or I'm not saying Jamal Murray's short, but some people don't like the idea of kind of being leaned on, kind of being the smaller guy. Jamal Murray and Jokic have this beautiful relationship. It is so balanced. The ego isn't there. Maybe it's because one's from Serbia and one's from Canada. They don't have that American ego in them. Maybe it's because both at one time or another were completely overlooked, as you guys are well aware of now. Nikola Jokic, when he was drafted during the NBA draft, a Taco Bell commercial was actually running during the time. That's how inconsequential they thought Nikola Jokic was going to be as an NBA player. And while Jamal Murray was absolutely hyped coming out of Kentucky, once he suffered his knee injury, there were a lot of people who didn't put him on the same level as a Devin Booker or other great players out of Kentucky. They didn't think he could be a leader, a star. I was so impressed. Jamal Murray averaged 10 assists in the NBA Finals. Nikola Jokic had, 20 rebounds in how many games in the NBA? I mean, what an impressive performance. These are two of my favorite superstars of all time, and I do put them in the superstar category, whether they deserve that label or not. But the Denver Nuggets, to me, are the model franchise in so many ways, because do I think this is sustainable? No, I do not. I don't think they're going to repeat. I don't think they're going to go off into some kind of dynasty. I think that health will get to this team eventually. They were incredibly healthy during this playoff run. Their starting five played every single game of the playoffs and finals. That's crazy. You didn't have one turned ankle that had someone sit. You didn't have to make a lineup change. That kind of health is really rare And I don't expect that, especially a Denver Nuggets team that has some injury history. Jamal Murray, I'm looking at you. Other players. Do I think the Nuggets are going to be the superstar, loaded team? No. I do think that this was their year in the same way we talked about the Milwaukee Bucks a couple years ago, and that was their year. I didn't think the Bucks were going to go on this kind of dynasty run, but this is a brilliant team, and it needs to be appreciated. We don't need to talk about next year too much. We don't need to focus too much on the Miami Heat. There's plenty of time for that. Nikola Jokic is a superstar who's so humble that all he wants to do is go home to Serbia. He doesn't want a parade. He doesn't want accolades. He really didn't even want his trophy. Did you see how he reacted to the MVP trophy from last night? Bruce Brown literally had to go find him and give it to him. He left it. Now, I know he had his daughter in his hands, which was, for the NBA, like an all-time moment. Like, that is a brilliant moment. That is Drew Brees and his son, confetti coming down in the Super Bowl. That's what Jokic and his daughter was last night. It was as perfect an NBA scripted moment as you could get. Family, championship, everything. But that said, Nikola Jokic so doesn't care about the accolades. I'm in love with the guy. He is brilliant. He plays at his pace. He's an all-time great. Is he the greatest European player of all time? I don't think he is yet. I think he's in the conversation. Do I think he is yet? No. But I think that what Nikola Jokic has done needs to be appreciated before we start doing what we naturally do. Season ends and we immediately go, okay, the way too early predictions for next season, next year. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think Denver can get there, but it doesn't matter right now. This was a great team. A couple other people I want to shout out. Jeff Green. Jeff Green has gone through everything in life, including open heart surgery. And Jeff Green contributed to this team. He wasn't just another player. He wasn't just a good story. Jeff Green contributed. I hope everyone recognizes that Jeff Green's story is as remarkable as any player in the NBA. Everything he's gone through, he's been traded, he's been cut, he's been dealt. He's had to go to I think it's 11 different teams. Jeff Green has gone through personally, physically, emotionally, every kind of challenge in the NBA, and he is a champion. Oh my God, does that make me feel good for him and for what the NBA represents. Additionally, I love Michael Malone. I just love him as a coach, and he spoke to something last night which is so important. We lack patience nowadays. We are in, as you guys know, if you're watching on TikTok Live or YouTube, we are in such a quick-paced world. And when you fail, when you don't live up to expectation, there is an assumption that the gallows door will swing out and you will just drop and you're done. We saw it a lot with NBA coaches after this season. Doc Rivers fired. Monty Williams fired. Budenholz fired. And I'm not saying all weren't deserved, but I love the idea that Michael Malone didn't get to the promised land quickly. He had to earn it. He had to earn it with the Nuggets. It's not like he was at some other team and then he came to the Nuggets and it clicked. He was doubted. There are tweets, there are receipts that are being brought back up in which Michael Malone, people were saying to fire him, that he couldn't win a championship. He was so brilliant as a coach in these playoffs. One thing, Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, and I thought he got plenty of flowers. So Eric Spoelstra, we talk about him a lot. Did anyone think that Michael Malone at any point in the NBA Finals got outcoached? I didn't think once. And Eric Spoelstra is the kind of coach who makes a difference. He is someone who I often think outcoaches the opposing coach. I thought he outcoached Tibbs. I thought he outcoached Joe Mazzulla. And know who Eric Spoelstra did not outcoach? Michael Malone. Mike Malone was brilliant as a head coach. Yes, Jokic and Murray makes life very easy, but he had rotations. How is he going to get Bruce Brown in? How is he going to get KCP in? What does he do with Michael Porter Jr.? Michael Porter Jr. was the perfect microcosm of how good a head coach Michael Malone is. Because Michael Porter Jr. literally could not hit water if he fell out of a frickin' boat for the first few games of that series. And then in Game 5, not only does he find his scoring, not only is he aggressive on the boards, but he ended up being the difference maker. His additional points, his rebounds, the second chance points they got off of those rebounds, Believe it or not, Michael Porter Jr. was the difference in them winning Game 5. And it speaks to Michael Malone as a head coach. Managed it brilliantly. I was so impressed by what I saw from the Nuggets last night. And again, I want to make sure Miami Heat, the culture is real. We can praise them another day. Today belongs to Denver. And I want to make sure everyone acknowledges that great teams, humble teams, balanced teams do not come around often. We talk about the heart of a champion. We talk about what it takes. The Denver Nuggets, put it on a poster, because that is the hang in there kitty of determination, sacrifice, teamwork, egoless basketball. I loved what I saw. This one other note on the NBA Finals. How many cuts did we see? How many back cuts did we see? How many picks did we see? Do you know what it takes to have a set a good pick, to make a good back cut? Both of those are about willingness to be engaged, participation, intelligence, balancing the floor. And if I have anybody I want to kind of call out, I'm going to call out the Boston Celtics. I know this is a random one, but Boston Celtics, look at how these two teams just played. Balanced, egoless, not complaining, fighting, determining. I know there was a little complaining by the Nuggets at times, but when Jimmy Butler kicks Aaron Gordon in the basketballs, I understand it. But that said, if you're looking at other teams in the NBA who are on the cusp of championship greatness and aren't there yet, like the Boston Celtics, look at the Denver Nuggets. Look at what Jamal Murray does to humble himself. Jamal Murray humbles himself so Bruce Brown can get an open three. So KCP can get an open three. If Jaylen Brown played like Jamal Murray, the Celtics would have been playing in that series. So, that said, that's all I got for you. Wanted to make sure I called that out. My last little note on the NBA Finals before we close up shop and move on to today's action. Stan Kroenke has been on some kind of roll. Stan Kroenke has won a Super Bowl with the LA Rams. He's won a Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche, and he has now won a Larry O'Brien trophy, an NBA Finals trophy with the Denver Nuggets. You may not like Stan Kroenke, especially if you're from St. Louis. You may disdain the man. But when you win that many championships over that span of time, there is something to it. And I saw a great tweet earlier, and I forget who it was, but I am quoting someone else. When you win those 3 titles in 3 major sports in that span of time, what does that tell you? That's an owner who spent the money and got the hell out of the way. He could have fired. He could have changed things in Denver. He could have fired his head coach. He didn't. He could have lacked the trust in Jamal Murray. He didn't. You look at the NFL. He gave his GM a lot of rope. He took a chance on Stafford. You look at the Avalanche. They built a great team in Colorado when they won. So Stan Kroenke, you may not be a fan of him, especially those in St. Louis, but you got to respect what a good owner is. And what's a good owner? I don't think it's a Jerry Jones. I think it's someone who spends the money and then gets out of the way. Go let the experts do it. Go let the managers, the coaches, the GMs, the players, they win championships. And if there is one thing I liked, I don't like that the owner gets the trophy right away. I know they own the team and thus they win the championship, but I always feel like, 12 guys just sweated, gave their life for you to win a title, and you in your suit raised the trophy first. It's a little hypocritical, a little crazy. But that said, Stan Kroenke gave credit to the players, to the organization, to the coaching staff. It wasn't about him, and it could have been, because a lot of owners have that kind of ego. And I know Stan Kroenke isn't a popular guy, but he may be the best owner right now in North American sports, and there may be some gap there. Really impressive. That said, we finish our NBA talk. Welcome into our daily show. But Fumble Sports is live every single day for 2 hours every day, talking sports, giving out picks, obviously helping you out with fantasy and the like. We have closed the NBA season. The NHL